On another story, workers affiliated to the trade union Amcu have returned to work after a 5-month strike. This comes after the trade union decided to keep things on hold as they stood with regards to that strike happening out, of course, at Sibanye. And that was quite interesting to note that, unfortunately, they didn't get the decision they had initially hoped for, but certainly things have shifted and moved along. We are hoping, of course, to speak to our very own Mbalenhle Mthethwa, who, of course, will shed some sentiment around exactly what has happened thus far, perhaps victims of that strike as well, how people will survive. Mbalenhle, thank you so much for the time. How has the situation really changed with regards to the workers affiliated with Amcu in particular?
Good afternoon, Arabile. I think what has happened, the air that you get in the streets here in Carletonville is that people are very happy. It's basically a celebratory mood where people are happy and excited that people are going to be going back to work and they're going to be getting some form of income. Now, on the way in, I just want to explain what we saw on our way in here. Well, the first time I came here was a while ago while the strike was ongoing, and we saw, the first thing we saw were basically streets being barricaded by rocks, metal dustbins, and all kinds of things that were actually, barricading the roads. And right now, most of those things, the obstructions that were on the road, have generally been removed, except for one thing, which is a car that was burnt down. Is believed to have belonged to one of the non-striking workers who had been trying to go to work. Angry striking workers who then torched his car. Now, this is basically word on the street. These are not really confirmed allegations, but these are the allegations that are being spoken of in the streets. But another thing that we also saw the last time that we were here is that there was a very little, economic activity, in the sense that people were going to the shops and buying, and even children going to preschools. So all of those things basically came ground to a complete standstill. And right now, after speaking to a few shop owners, they are all hopeful, and they're saying that some people, it seems as though some people have already gotten some money, and they've already seen people starting to shop and buy things in the local shops. But one of the other places that was also affected by the strike is a preschool, and I'm going to be speaking to one of the preschool teachers shortly. The preschool, basically, when we first came here, we spoke to a few ladies who said, listen, the number of children keeps dwindling as the strike progresses and continues. And the number of children did dwindle to the point that today we only saw 6 learners. And we also spoke to other mothers in the area who were saying that, listen, the strike was very difficult on us. And some of the people had to leave and go to their homesteads, just to stay away from here. And because there was no income, and their kids wanted to go to preschool. However, they did not have the finances to take them to preschool. But there is a sense of hope in the area that things are going to improve now that people are going to be going back to work. I spoke to one of the striking who was on strike, one of the mine workers who was on strike, and he didn't want to speak to me on camera. A lot of the people that I spoke to did not want to speak to us on camera, and this particular gentleman told us that they will be reporting to work as of tomorrow. However, they will not be going into the mine. They'll be going in for counseling before they can go straight into the mine. So that's what we've gotten from the ground here at Carletonville. But for now, I'm just going to talk to one of the preschool teachers who has actually told us and relayed the difficulties that they've had in relations to keeping this preschool up and running, and in the sense that they've also had to some of the teachers have had to stay at home because they did not have the finances to pay some of the teachers. And I know the last time we were here, we saw more than 3 teachers, and today we're seeing only 2. But I'm going to speak to Nandi Pasitola, who's going to tell us more about her experiences. Thank you so much for speaking to us. What has been your experience here at this very preschool, and what are your hopes going forward now that everyone's going back to work?
Bekukubi kakhulu kwesi strike since siqalile ngoNovember. Siye sastruggleisha abantwana bethu begraduate. It was very difficult. Abanye bagraduate nje kuba sesibasizele ngabazali sibaqhelile. So from ngoJanuary abazali badepende kuthi basibathathela abantwana babo baye emisebenzini, kufanele sithatha abantwana abanye abanayo imali yokubhatala. Otishala bethu baxhomekeke kule mali yesikolo uba bakwazi ukuba babhatalwe. Ukutya batya abantwana becrash kuthengwa ngemali yabantwana, ibe yirenti siyarenta kule mali yabantwana. So kube nzima kakhulu kuthi, kodwa futhi esikubulelayo umlungu lo esirenta kuye uye wasibonelela, because umbane azange siwudinge, noba abantu bale ndawo bebecinyela umbane azange asicimela umbane. Uye wazama ukuba abambisane nathi asimithe halfway, ke akhange kube nzima kwicala lombane. Kube nzima ke abantwana asinabo, njengoba nibona uba namhlanje sina 6 but ke besina 15 kahle abanye bezanga ngenxa yeweather. Sinalo ke ithemba ngoba sekuthiwa istrike isiphelile, ngoba abazali bale ndawo bayafuna ukusisa abantwana esikolweni, but ngoba imali ayikho, igrant yabantwana abazali bebesebephila ngayo kule ndawo, bebengenamali enough yoba bangabhatalela abantwana esikolweni.
Thank you so much for that. Now, just in short, she was saying that, you know, how they've managed to survive is because the owner of the very premises that they're renting out did not cut the electricity, and they gave she gave them a chance to continue operating, even though they didn't have the finances to continue. And some of the during the festive season, there were some kids who were supposed to graduate, and even though they did not have the finances to continue with the graduation and to basically create a graduation ceremony that is what they're used to and they've become accustomed to, they just allowed children to come and participate, you know, for the sake of participating, because they already had a relationship and built a relationship with the parents. And she also says that, you know, they are expecting more children to come along. And she does say that even though the number that we saw today is 6, they generally have around 15 learners coming in the morning, and they take care of these kids during the day while the parents are at work. I've got more people. I mean, more people have come along now that we've been standing here. They also want to tell their stories of how difficult it was and what a difficult period it was when, you know, the mine workers were on strike. I'm joined by another lady here who's going to tell us about how difficult it has been. Please come closer, ma'am. Please tell us about your difficulties.
Bekunzima kakhulu nyani endabeni ye-strike because besafara abantwana bethu baphuma esikolweni nemali grant khange iphuma kuhle since from in November. So ngoNovember besafarisha kakhulu, abantwana bayesikolweni akunasephe kwasha, abantu behlele benyuka beentabeni abokushisa umukhulu izinto ezinjalo. So sisafara bekunzima kakhulu. So sabona.
Thank you so much. Basically, we're getting the same sentiments. People are very grateful that the strike is over. You know, they're very grateful that the difficulties that they'd encountered when the strike was in process, was happening, they will then, things are going to improve. That is the expectation, that things are going to improve going forward. But for now, it's back to you in studio.
Our very own Mbalenhle Mthethwa there, of course, giving us sentiment on the ground out in Carletonville following that Amcu strike, of course, which indeed has ended. But 5 months in the making, of course, to get that agreement. Perhaps Amcu has not necessarily won. We'll continue to unpack that just a little bit more. But for now, over to my colleague.